Perhaps tonight arrives with a softer invitation than other nights. Perhaps after a long day of moving, thinking, and carrying many small responsibilities, you are ready for a quiet moment beneath the open sky. The world outside slowly becomes still. The sounds of the day begin to fade. The lights become gentler. The space around you begins to breathe. Maybe you may notice that beneath all the movement, there is a peaceful place that has been waiting quietly. Ethan Parker walks toward the edge of an old forest as evening settles across the land. The path before him is simple. The trees stand calmly beside it. A gentle breeze moves through the branches, carrying the scent of earth, leaves, and the changing season. In front of him stands an old wooden gate. Its surface carries the quiet marks of rain, sunlight, and time. The wood is not perfect. Small lines and textures remain from many seasons. Perhaps the gate feels peaceful because it has allowed every season to become part of its story. Ethan rests his hand on the wooden surface. He takes a slow breath. The sounds behind him become softer. The worries he carried through the day do not disappear all at once. They simply begin to feel a little lighter. Maybe you may notice how a quiet place does not need to remove every thought. Sometimes it only creates enough space to observe them gently. Ethan opens the gate and steps into the forest. The path ahead is covered with fallen leaves. Each step creates a soft sound beneath his feet. The evening light moves between the trees, creating small patterns across the ground. The forest does not feel empty. It feels present. The leaves, the wind, the earth, the quiet rhythm of nature moving in its own way. Perhaps Mother Earth speaks through these simple moments, not through answers or instructions. Maybe through the feeling of standing beneath the trees and remembering how to listen. Ethan walks slowly along the path. He does not know exactly where the trail will lead. Yet there is a gentle comfort in allowing the journey to unfold one step at a time. The forest does not rush him forward. The trees do not ask him to become someone different. They simply remain. You may notice how nature has its own rhythm. Seeds rest beneath the soil before they grow. Rivers move around stones instead of fighting against them. Leaves return to the earth when their season has arrived. Perhaps there is a quiet wisdom in these natural movements. Ethan continues deeper into the forest as the last light of evening fades. A small bird moves between the branches. The sound of its wings disappears into the distance. The air becomes cooler. The first stars begin to appear above the trees. Maybe this moment feels like a gentle return. A return to breathing slowly. A return to noticing the ground beneath your feet. A return to the simple presence of being here. Ethan pauses beside the path and looks around. The forest surrounds him with quiet patience. There is no need to explain this moment. There is no need to hold on to it. Perhaps some peaceful experiences are meant to be felt before they are understood. The old wooden gate remains behind him at the entrance of the forest. The path continues ahead beneath the evening sky, and beside the quiet trail, a single fallen leaf rests on the wooden gate, holding a small drop of water that reflects the first soft light of the stars above. Perhaps, after passing through the old wooden gate, Ethan Parker continues along the quiet forest path as evening settles deeper around him. The sounds of the world behind him become softer with every step. The distant movement of the day slowly fades into the gentle rhythm of the woods. Maybe you may notice how a different kind of listening begins when everything becomes a little quieter. Ethan walks beneath tall trees that have stood through many seasons. Their branches reach across the sky like peaceful hands. The last light of the evening rests between the leaves, creating warm patterns on the ground. Fallen leaves cover the path beneath his feet. Some are golden, some are brown. Some still carry small traces of color from the season that is passing. Ethan slows his steps and observes the leaves around him. Each one rests naturally where it has arrived. Perhaps the forest does not ask the leaves to remain on the branches forever. Maybe it allows each season to complete itself in its own gentle way. Ethan bends down and picks up one small leaf from the path. Its surface is delicate. Tiny lines move across it like quiet memories written by time. He holds it carefully in his hand and notices the small changes created by wind, rain, and sunlight. The leaf is no longer where it once grew, yet it still carries a quiet beauty. You may notice how some things become meaningful through their journey. Ethan sits beside the path near the roots of a large tree. The earth beneath him feels cool and steady. The scent of damp soil rises softly after the evening air moves through the forest. A gentle breeze passes between the branches above. The leaves respond with a quiet whisper. Perhaps this sound has always been here. Maybe it was simply waiting for a peaceful moment to be heard. Ethan takes a slow breath. His shoulders begin to soften. The thoughts he carried from the day are still present. The unfinished tasks, the conversations, the moments he wished had gone differently. But perhaps they feel different now. They have more space around them. Like the leaves resting on the ground, they can simply be noticed. Ethan places the leaf beside him and watches as the wind gently moves it across the earth. It travels a short distance before coming to rest again. Maybe you may notice how nature does not hold tightly to every moment. The river continues flowing. The clouds continue moving. The seasons continue changing. Everything follows a quiet rhythm. Ethan looks toward the trees surrounding him. Their roots remain hidden beneath the soil. Their branches continue reaching upward. They do not hurry toward the next season. They simply remain connected to the present one. Perhaps there is a gentle comfort in observing this way of being, not needing to become something else immediately, not needing to force every moment to change. Ethan continues walking after some time. The forest path curves gently ahead. Small plants grow beside the trail. Moss covers old stones with soft shades of green. The evening becomes darker, but the path still feels welcoming. Maybe the forest is not leading him toward a place outside himself. Perhaps it is creating a quiet space where he can return to what has always been within. Ethan walks slowly beneath the trees. The fallen leaves continue beneath his feet. The air carries the peaceful scent of the earth. The forest listens quietly around him, and near the edge of the path, one golden leaf rests beside a small stone, holding a tiny drop of water that reflects the fading evening light beneath the silent trees. Perhaps after leaving the fallen leaf beside the small stone, Ethan Parker continues deeper into the forest as the evening sky becomes darker. The path beneath his feet remains soft and quiet. The trees around him stand peacefully, their branches moving gently with the passing breeze. Maybe you may notice how the forest slowly reveals more of itself when we stop searching and simply observe. Ethan walks beneath the older trees now. Their trunks are wider, their roots deeper, and their presence feels steady. Some trees have smooth bark. Others carry marks from many seasons of rain, wind, and sunlight. He moves slowly between them, allowing the quiet rhythm of the forest to guide his steps. Ahead, he notices a large ancient tree standing beside the path. Its branches extend outward like a gentle shelter above the earth. The roots rise slightly from the ground before disappearing beneath the soil. Moss grows along the base of the trunk, creating a soft green layer around its foundation. Ethan approaches and pauses beside the tree. Perhaps this tree has watched many evenings arrive and many mornings return. Maybe it has stood through storms, quiet winters, warm summers, and countless changes that passed without being announced. Ethan places his hand gently against the bark. The surface feels rough beneath his fingers. He notices the small patterns shaped by time, tiny lines, deep textures, places where the tree has grown around the changes it experienced. You may notice how the tree does not hide these marks. They simply become part of its presence. Ethan sits near the roots and looks upward. The branches move slowly above him. Small spaces between the leaves reveal the first stars appearing in the sky. The forest becomes quieter, but it does not feel empty. A distant bird calls once before becoming silent. The wind moves through the branches like a soft whisper. Perhaps the tree is not offering words. Maybe it is offering a moment to remain. Ethan takes a slow breath. The earth beneath him feels steady. His back rests near the roots of the tree. The thoughts that followed him into the forest begin to slow. They are still there, some memories, some worries, some unfinished pieces of the day. But perhaps they no longer feel so heavy. Maybe they are like clouds passing through the open spaces between the branches. They appear, they move, they continue onward. Ethan looks at the roots beside him. They are partly visible, yet most of their strength remains hidden beneath the earth. Perhaps the deepest support is often found in places we cannot see. The roots do not need to be noticed to keep growing. They simply remain connected to the soil beneath them. Ethan sits quietly for a while. He listens to the forest around him, the movement of leaves, the soft sound of the wind, the gentle rhythm of his own breathing. Maybe you may notice how stillness can create a place where we return to ourselves, not by forcing anything away, not by searching for something new, simply by allowing this moment to be enough. After some time, Ethan stands and continues along the path. He looks back once more at the ancient tree. It remains beside the trail, calm and steady beneath the night sky. The forest path continues ahead, winding between the trees. Ethan walks slowly onward. Behind him, the ancient tree stands quietly among the shadows, with a small patch of moss glowing softly beneath its roots as moonlight falls through the branches above. Perhaps, after leaving the ancient tree behind, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path beneath the quiet night sky. The roots of the old tree remain connected to the earth behind him. Its branches still hold the moonlight above the trail. Maybe you may notice how some peaceful moments continue to travel with us, even after we move forward. Ethan walks slowly between the trees. The path becomes narrower, and the sounds of the forest become clearer. A gentle movement of water begins to appear in the distance. The soft rhythm of a stream flows through the silence. Ethan follows the sound, allowing his steps to move naturally with the forest around him. Ahead, the trees open slightly, revealing a small stream passing between smooth stones. The water moves quietly beneath the moonlight. Ethan approaches the edge and sits beside the flowing stream. Perhaps this stream has been moving through the forest for many years. Maybe it has carried fallen leaves, small branches, and reflections of countless skies. Yet each moment of the water is always new. Ethan watches the surface carefully. The stream reflects the branches above, but the image changes with every small movement. A leaf falls from a nearby tree and gently touches the water. Small circles appear and move outward before becoming part of the current again. You may notice how the stream does not hold onto each ripple. It allows every movement to arrive and continue. Ethan places his hand near the water. The cool surface touches his fingers. He watches the current move around the stones without struggle. The water does not need to push against the rocks. It simply finds another way forward. Perhaps there is a quiet beauty in this movement. Maybe life also has moments when a softer path appears, Ethan breathes slowly beside the stream. The sounds around him become gentle companions. The flowing water, the moving leaves, the distant sounds of the night forest. His thoughts continue to appear, but they feel different beside the stream. They are no longer asking for immediate answers. They simply pass through his awareness. Perhaps they are like the leaves floating on the water. They arrive, they travel, they move onward. Ethan looks at the stones beneath the stream. Some are large and steady. Others are small and smooth from years of flowing water. Each one carries the quiet marks of time. Maybe you may notice how nature changes things through patience rather than force. The water shapes the stones slowly. The roots grow quietly beneath the soil. The leaves return gently to the earth. Ethan sits beside the stream for a long while. The moon moves higher above the trees. The forest remains calm around him. There is no need to hurry toward the next place. The moment beside the water feels complete in itself. Perhaps the stream offers no lesson through words. Maybe it simply allows him to observe the natural rhythm already surrounding him. Ethan eventually stands and continues along the path. The stream follows beside him for a short distance before curving deeper into the forest. He walks slowly, listening to the sound of water flowing nearby. The trail continues beneath the trees, carrying him gently forward. Behind him, the stream keeps moving through the moonlit forest, with a single silver leaf resting on the water's surface as it drifts quietly between the stones. And perhaps, after walking beside the flowing stream, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path as the night becomes deeper and quieter. The sound of the water slowly fades behind him, but its gentle rhythm remains in his thoughts. Maybe you may notice how some moments continue to accompany us even after they are gone. Ethan walks beneath the tall trees, carrying the quiet feeling of the stream with him. The moonlight moves between the branches, creating small pools of silver across the ground. The path ahead becomes darker, yet it still feels peaceful. Ethan takes each step slowly, allowing his eyes to adjust to the soft shadows around him. Soon, he notices a small lantern resting beside the trail. It sits on a smooth stone beneath an old tree. The lantern is simple and weathered. Its wooden frame carries small marks from time, rain, and gentle use. A warm light glows quietly inside. Perhaps the lantern has been waiting in this place for many evenings. Maybe it has offered its small warmth to other travelers who passed through the forest. Ethan approaches and sits beside it. The gentle flame moves softly with the night air. The trees remain around him. The path remains ahead. The forest has not changed, yet the small light creates a different feeling. You may notice how a single flame can bring comfort without needing to remove the darkness. Ethan observes the lantern carefully. The flame rises and lowers with each quiet movement of air. it does not struggle against the night around it. It simply shines where it is. Perhaps there is something peaceful in this small presence. Maybe a gentle light does not need to fill the entire forest. It only needs to softly reveal the next step. Ethan takes a slow breath. The warmth from the lantern touches his hands. The cool night air surrounds him. His thoughts continue to arrive. Some memories from the past, some worries about tomorrow, some questions that remain unfinished, but perhaps they feel less overwhelming now. Maybe they are like the shadows around the lantern. They can exist without covering everything. Ethan looks at the ground nearby. Fallen leaves rest beside the stone. Small plants grow between the roots of the tree. The forest floor holds both light and shadow together. Perhaps nature does not separate one from the other. The moonlight and darkness share the same sky. The quiet and the movement belong to the same forest. Ethan remains beside the lantern for a while. He listens to the sounds around him. A distant branch moving in the wind, a small creature passing through the leaves, the gentle rhythm of his own breathing. You may notice how listening can create a space where the mind becomes softer. Ethan does not search for an answer from the lantern. He does not ask it to explain the path ahead. He simply appreciates its quiet presence. Maybe some moments are not meant to solve anything. Perhaps they are meant to be experienced fully. The lantern continues glowing beside the forest trail. Its small circle of light rests on the earth, touching the leaves and stones nearby. After some time, Ethan stands and lifts the lantern carefully. He continues walking along the path. The light moves gently with him, showing only a small part of the trail ahead. The forest remains vast and peaceful around him. Behind him, the stone where the lantern rested stays beneath the old tree, with a few fallen leaves gathered around it and a warm reflection of light remaining softly on the quiet forest ground. Perhaps, after carrying the small lantern along the forest path, Ethan Parker continues walking beneath the quiet night sky. The gentle glow moves beside him, touching only a small space around his feet. The trees remain tall and peaceful. The wind continues its slow movement through the branches. Maybe you may notice how even a small light can make the journey feel a little more welcoming. Ethan follows the path until the trees begin to open. Ahead, he discovers a hidden garden resting quietly between the woods. It is surrounded by wild plants, soft grass, and flowers that grow without being arranged by human hands. The lantern light moves across the leaves and reveals small details. Dew rests on petals. Tiny insects move gently between the plants. The garden feels untouched, as if it has been quietly growing through many seasons. Ethan steps inside slowly. He does not want to disturb the peaceful space around him. Perhaps this garden has always existed here, waiting patiently beneath the trees. Maybe it does not need attention to become beautiful. It simply follows its own natural rhythm. Ethan notices a small flower bud near the edge of the garden. It has not opened yet. Its petals remain gently folded together. The bud is small and delicate, but it carries the quiet promise of becoming something more. Ethan kneels beside it and observes carefully. He does not touch the flower. He simply allows himself to be present with it. You may notice how some things reveal themselves only when they are ready. The flower does not rush toward the morning. It does not compare itself with the blossoms around it. It rests within its own season. Perhaps there is a quiet comfort in witnessing this. Maybe growth does not always happen through effort. Sometimes it unfolds through patience, care, and time. Ethan sits among the garden plants. The lantern rests beside him, creating a warm circle of light on the ground. The night air carries the scent of flowers and fresh earth. Somewhere nearby, a small stream continues flowing through the forest. The sound is soft and distant. Ethan takes a slow breath and looks around the garden. Some flowers have already opened. Others remain closed. Some leaves are bright and young. Others show the gentle marks of passing seasons. Everything exists together. Perhaps the garden does not ask anything to become different before it can belong. Maybe every part has its own place within the larger landscape. Ethan reflects on the moments when he has expected himself to move faster, to understand sooner, to become something beyond the present moment. Sitting among the quiet plants, those thoughts begin to soften. They do not disappear. They simply become easier to observe. Like the unopened flower beside him, perhaps he can allow his own journey to unfold naturally. Ethan stays in the garden for a while. He listens to the night sounds surrounding him, the movement of leaves, the quiet breathing of the forest, the small sounds of life continuing all around him. Maybe you may notice how peaceful moments often arrive without announcement. They appear when we slow down enough to see them. After some time, Ethan stands and lifts the lantern again. He looks once more at the small flower bud beside the path. It remains gently closed beneath the moonlight. Ethan continues walking through the garden, leaving the flowers undisturbed. The lantern glow moves forward with him. Behind him, the hidden garden rests beneath the trees, with one unopened flower bud, holding a small drop of dew that reflects the quiet light of the moon. Perhaps, after leaving the hidden garden behind, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path while carrying the gentle glow of the lantern beside him. The unopened flower remains quietly beneath the moonlight. The small drop of dew on its petals reflects the night sky before slowly returning to the earth. Maybe you may notice how some moments stay with us, even after we continue moving forward. Ethan walks deeper into the forest. The trees become wider apart, and the path leads him toward a quiet resting place beneath an ancient oak tree. The night feels peaceful here. The air is cool and still. Soft layer of leaves covers the ground around the tree. Beneath its branches sits a simple wooden bench. The bench appears weathered by many seasons. Its surface carries small marks from rain, sunlight, and passing time. Ethan approaches slowly and places the lantern beside it. He sits down and rests his hands gently in his lap. Perhaps this bench has welcomed many quiet moments before his arrival. Maybe it has held the weight of many different stories, some joyful, some difficult, some unfinished. Ethan observes the wood beneath him. The surface is not smooth everywhere. Small cracks and faded colors remain along the edges. Yet the bench still feels warm and steady. You may notice how things touched by time can carry a different kind of beauty. The marks do not take away from the bench. They become part of its presence. Ethan looks at the old oak tree above him. Its branches stretch outward, reaching into the darkness. The tree and the bench share the same quiet space. One continues growing upward. The other remains still beneath it. Both have experienced many seasons. Perhaps there is a gentle connection between them. Maybe growth and stillness can exist together. Ethan breathes slowly as he listens to the forest. The wind moves through the leaves above. The lantern flame flickers softly beside him. The night creatures continue their quiet movements nearby. His mind returns to moments from his own life, times when he wished things had been different, times when he judged himself for being slower than he expected. Sitting on the old bench, those memories feel softer. They are still part of his story, but perhaps they no longer need to be carried so tightly. Maybe they can rest beside him for a while, like leaves resting on the forest floor. Ethan runs his fingers lightly along the edge of the bench. He notices the small patterns shaped by years of weather. The wood has changed through every season. It has been touched by storms and warmed by sunlight. Yet it remains here, quiet, present. Perhaps the bench does not resist the passing of time. Maybe it simply allows each season to leave its gentle trace. Ethan sits beneath the oak tree for a long while. He watches the lantern light move across the ground. The shadows shift slowly as the branches sway above. You may notice how peaceful moments do not always come from changing what exists. Sometimes they come from seeing what is already here with softer eyes. Ethan eventually stands and picks up the lantern. He looks once more at the old wooden bench beneath the oak tree. The bench remains where it has always been, surrounded by fallen leaves and quiet earth. As Ethan walks away along the forest path, the lantern glow fades into the distance. Behind him, the weathered wooden bench rests beneath the ancient oak, with a single curled leaf lying gently on its surface beneath a stream of moonlight. Perhaps, after leaving the weathered wooden bench beneath the ancient oak tree, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path with the lantern glowing softly beside him. The quiet presence of the old tree remains behind him. The fallen leaf on the bench rests peacefully beneath the moonlight. Maybe you may notice how some places leave a gentle feeling that continues long after we walk away. Ethan follows the trail deeper into the forest. The path becomes softer beneath his feet. The trees grow closer together, creating a quiet shelter around him. The night air carries the scent of earth and leaves. The lantern light moves slowly across the ground, revealing small stones, moss, and delicate plants growing beside the trail. After some time, Ethan discovers a small wooden shelter hidden between the trees. It is simple and quiet. The walls are made from natural wood. A small window allows a little moonlight to enter. Inside, there is a small wooden table with a blank notebook resting on its surface. Ethan steps inside gently. The shelter feels peaceful, as if it has been waiting patiently for someone to sit and rest. Perhaps this place was created not to hold many things, but to offer space. A space for breathing, a space for listening, a space for simply being present. Ethan places the lantern beside the notebook. The warm light touches the empty pages. He sits at the wooden table and looks at the blank paper in front of him. Maybe you may notice how an empty page can feel both quiet and open. It does not ask for a perfect beginning. It does not require a certain story. It simply remains available. Ethan gently places his hand on the notebook cover. He thinks about the many words he has carried throughout his life. Words from memories, words from expectations, words from moments when he tried to understand everything before allowing himself to experience it. Sitting in the quiet shelter, those thoughts begin to soften. Perhaps not every moment needs to be explained. Maybe some experiences are meant to remain like the forest itself, felt before they are described. Ethan opens the notebook. The pages remain empty. He does not rush to fill them. Instead, he listens. The wind moves gently outside. A few leaves touch the roof above. The forest continues its quiet rhythm around him. You may notice how silence can sometimes create a deeper kind of understanding. Not because it gives immediate answers, but because it allows space for something new to appear. Ethan takes a slow breath and looks through the small window. The trees stand peacefully beneath the night sky. The lantern reflects softly on the blank pages. Perhaps the empty notebook is not a sign that something is missing. Maybe it is an invitation to appreciate the space before the next moment arrives. Ethan sits there for a while without writing anything. He allows the quiet to exist, the unfinished thoughts, the unanswered questions, the gentle uncertainty of the path ahead. They all rest together in the same peaceful space. After some time, Ethan closes the notebook carefully. He places it back on the table. The pages remain untouched, yet something within the room feels different. The shelter remains simple. The notebook remains empty. The forest remains unchanged. Ethan picks up the lantern and steps outside again. The path waits quietly beneath the trees. Behind him, the small wooden shelter rests in the darkness, with the blank notebook sitting beside the warm lantern glow as moonlight falls softly across its empty pages. Perhaps after leaving the small wooden shelter behind, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path with the lantern resting gently in his hand. The blank notebook remains inside the shelter, untouched beneath the quiet moonlight. Maybe you may notice how some spaces are meaningful because they allow us to pause, not because they give us something to hold. Ethan walks slowly beneath the trees. The night air feels calm around him. The sounds of the forest continue their gentle rhythm. Leaves move softly above. The distant stream flows quietly nearby. The path leads him toward a small wooden bridge crossing over the water. Ethan approaches the bridge and stops for a moment. The wooden boards beneath his feet show signs of many seasons. Some areas are lighter from sunlight. Some carry darker marks from rain. The bridge is simple, but it remains steady above the flowing stream. Perhaps this bridge has connected the two sides of the forest for many years. Maybe many travelers have crossed it while carrying different thoughts, different hopes, and different stories. Ethan steps onto the bridge slowly. The lantern light moves across the wooden surface beneath him. He looks down at the stream below. The water continues flowing beneath the bridge, carrying reflections of the trees and the stars above. You may notice how the stream does not stop when it reaches the bridge. It continues moving with the same gentle rhythm. Ethan stands in the middle of the bridge and listens. The water flows beneath him. The wind moves through the branches nearby. The forest surrounds him with quiet presence. Perhaps this moment feels like standing between two places. Behind him are the paths he has already walked. Ahead of him are paths he has not yet discovered. Maybe transitions are not always moments that need to be rushed through. Sometimes they can be places where we pause and observe. Ethan rests his hand on the wooden railing. He feels the texture of the old wood beneath his fingers. The bridge has changed through time, yet it continues to offer support. It does not need to be perfect to be useful. It does not need to remain untouched to be valuable. Perhaps the marks from rain and weather have become part of its quiet character. Ethan looks at the water below again. A few leaves float beneath the bridge. They move with the current, following the direction of the stream. They do not resist the journey ahead. They simply continue. Maybe you may notice how nature often moves through change with patience. The seasons shift. The rivers flow. The trees grow. Each moment becomes part of the next one. Ethan takes a slow breath as he stands beneath the open sky. The worries that once felt heavy seem farther away now. They are still memories. They are still parts of his story. But perhaps they no longer need to control every step forward. The bridge remains quiet beneath him. It does not explain where he should go. It simply allows him to cross. Ethan continues walking toward the other side. The lantern glows softly beside the path ahead. The forest opens slightly, revealing a gentle space beyond the trees. A faint hint of morning seems to rest somewhere beyond the darkness. Ethan looks back once before continuing. The wooden bridge remains above the stream, surrounded by quiet trees, with a single fallen leaf resting on the railing as moonlight reflects softly across the flowing water below. Perhaps after crossing the wooden bridge, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path as the night slowly begins to soften. The stream remains behind him, flowing beneath the bridge with its quiet and steady rhythm. The fallen leaf on the railing rests peacefully beneath the moonlight. Maybe you may notice how every step forward can still carry the memory of where we have been. Ethan walks toward the edge of the forest, where the trees begin to open. The air feels cooler now. The darkness slowly changes into a gentle blue shade. The first signs of morning begin to appear between the branches. Birds start to move quietly through the trees. The forest begins another day. Ahead of him, Ethan discovers a wide meadow covered with soft grass and small wildflowers. The open space feels different from the deeper parts of the forest. There are fewer trees surrounding him. The sky stretches wider above. The morning light touches the ground with a gentle warmth. Ethan steps into the meadow slowly. He allows himself to pause and look around. Perhaps this place has been waiting beneath the trees, quietly holding the arrival of a new day. Maybe the meadow does not need anything added to make it complete. It simply exists in its own natural way. Ethan notices small drops of dew resting on the flowers. Each drop reflects the morning light. The tiny reflections move gently as the breeze passes through the grass. You may notice how even the smallest things can hold a moment of quiet beauty. Ethan walks through the meadow without rushing. The grass moves softly around his feet. Wildflowers grow in different colors and shapes. Some stand tall beneath the sunlight. Others remain close to the earth. Each one follows its own rhythm. Perhaps the meadow carries a gentle reminder of how different paths can exist together. Maybe there is no need for every flower to bloom in the same way. Ethan sits near the center of the meadow. He places the lantern beside him. The flame is almost gone now, no longer needed against the darkness. The morning light begins to fill the space around him. Ethan watches as the last glow of the lantern meets the first light of the day. Perhaps some things do not disappear. Maybe they simply change into something new. Ethan breathes slowly and listens. The sounds of morning surround him. Birds calling from the trees, the movement of grass beneath the breeze, the distant sound of water continuing through the forest. You may notice how the world does not hurry into a new day. It unfolds gently, moment by moment. Ethan reflects on the journey that brought him here. The fallen leaf, the ancient tree, the flowing stream, the lantern, the hidden garden, the old bench, the empty notebook, the wooden bridge. Each place remains part of the forest. Each moment remains part of his experience. Perhaps he does not need to hold every memory tightly. Maybe he can simply appreciate that they happened. Ethan looks across the meadow. The open sky above him feels spacious. The earth beneath him feels steady. The quiet inside him feels a little deeper. There is still much he does not know. There are still paths he has not walked. Yet perhaps that uncertainty feels gentler now. Ethan stands and continues through the meadow. The morning light follows his steps. The wildflowers move softly in the breeze behind him. He walks toward the far side of the field, where the forest waits quietly in the distance. Behind him, the meadow rests beneath the rising sun, with one dew-covered flower holding a small reflection of golden morning light on its petals. Perhaps, after walking through the open meadow, Ethan Parker continues along the quiet path as the morning light becomes warmer. The dew-covered flower remains behind him, gently holding the reflection of the rising sun. The meadow slowly returns to its peaceful rhythm. The grass moves with the breeze. The wildflowers continue opening toward the light. Maybe you may notice how some places remain with us through a feeling rather than a memory. Ethan walks toward the edge of the forest, where a small wooden cabin rests among the trees. The cabin is simple and quiet. Its walls are made from natural wood. A small window reflects the morning sky. A few plants grow beside the doorway, moving gently with the wind. Ethan approaches slowly. Perhaps this cabin has been part of the forest for many years. Maybe it has offered shelter during rainy evenings and quiet mornings. It does not stand apart from nature. It rests within it. Ethan opens the wooden door and steps inside. The room is warm and peaceful. Soft sunlight enters through the window. A small table sits near the wall. On the windowsill, he notices a single green leaf resting beside a small clay cup. The leaf is fresh and bright. It carries the simple beauty of the forest outside. Ethan sits near the window and observes the leaf carefully. The sunlight touches its surface, revealing tiny patterns along its edges. Perhaps the leaf seems ordinary at first. Maybe its quiet presence becomes meaningful when he takes the time to notice it. You may notice how simple things can sometimes hold gentle moments of appreciation. Ethan places his hand near the leaf without touching it. He watches as the breeze from the open window moves it slightly. The leaf shifts, then settles again. It does not need to remain completely still to be peaceful. Perhaps movement and stillness can exist together. Ethan looks around the cabin. Everything inside feels simple. A wooden chair, a small table, a warm blanket folded neatly in the corner. Nothing seems excessive, yet the space feels complete. Maybe there is a quiet abundance in having enough. Ethan remembers moments when he searched for more answers, more certainty, more reasons to feel at peace. Sitting inside the small cabin, those thoughts become softer. Perhaps peace does not always arrive through finding something new. Maybe it appears when we begin to appreciate what is already present. Ethan pours water into the clay cup and sits quietly by the window. He watches the forest outside. The trees move gently. Birds pass between the branches. Sunlight travels slowly across the ground. You may notice how morning unfolds without needing to be rushed. Each moment arrives and leaves naturally. Ethan takes a slow breath. The cabin feels connected to everything around it. The leaf on the windowsill, the trees outside, the earth beneath the floor, the sunlight entering through the glass. Perhaps there is no separation between this small room and the greater forest. Maybe they are part of the same quiet landscape. Ethan remains there for a while. He listens to the sounds outside, the movement of leaves, the distant stream, the gentle sounds of life continuing. The green leaf beside the window remains unchanged, except for the way the light touches it throughout the morning. After some time, Ethan stands and prepares to leave the cabin. He looks once more at the simple room, the clay cup, the wooden table, the small green leaf resting on the windowsill. Then he steps outside and continues along the forest path. Behind him, the cabin rests quietly among the trees, with the green leaf glowing softly in the morning sunlight as a gentle breeze moves through the open window. Perhaps after leaving the small wooden cabin behind, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path beneath the gentle morning sky. The green leaf remains on the windowsill, touched by sunlight and a quiet breeze. The cabin stays within the trees, simple and peaceful, holding the warmth of that moment. Maybe you may notice how certain places continue to feel close, even after we move beyond them. Ethan walks slowly through the forest. The morning light filters between the branches. Small birds move through the trees, and the sound of the stream follows softly in the distance. The path gradually leads him toward a quiet pond resting beneath the open sky. Ethan approaches the water and pauses beside the shore. The pond is still and clear. The surface reflects the trees, the clouds, and the soft colors of the morning. Perhaps this place has held many reflections before. Maybe it has watched countless skies change without needing to hold onto any of them. Ethan sits beside the pond on the cool earth. He places the lantern down nearby. The flame has become small, almost ready to disappear with the daylight. He looks across the water and notices his own reflection among the trees above. The image moves gently whenever the breeze touches the surface. You may notice how the reflection does not need to be perfectly still to be seen. Ethan watches the water carefully. A small ripple appears near the edge of the pond. The reflection changes for a moment. The trees seem to move. The sky seems to shift. Then the surface becomes calm again. Perhaps the pond does not lose its beauty when it changes. Maybe every movement becomes part of the reflection itself. Ethan breathes slowly beside the water. He thinks about the journey through the forest, the places he has visited, the quiet moments he has shared with nature, the leaf on the ground, the ancient tree, the flowing stream, the lantern, the hidden garden, the old bench, the empty notebook, the bridge, the meadow, the cabin. Each moment remains like a small reflection within him. Ethan notices the smooth stones along the edge of the pond. Some are covered with moss. Some are shaped by years of rain and water. They rest quietly without needing to explain where they came from. Perhaps there is a gentle kindness in observing things as they are, noticing without judging, listening without needing immediate answers, allowing each moment to simply exist. Ethan reaches down and picks up one small, smooth stone. He holds it in his hand and feels its cool surface. The stone carries the quiet marks of time. It has been shaped slowly through patience and movement. Maybe you may notice how some changes happen so gently that we only recognize them afterward. Ethan places the stone back beside the pond. The water continues, reflecting the morning sky. The trees remain above the surface. The clouds continue moving across the reflection. Ethan sits there for a while longer. He listens to the sounds around him, the soft movement of leaves, the distant call of birds, the quiet rhythm of his breathing. Perhaps this moment does not need to become anything more. Maybe it can simply be appreciated as it is. After some time, Ethan stands and prepares to continue his journey. The pond remains behind him, calm beneath the morning light. He walks slowly along the path toward the final part of the forest. Behind him, the still water holds the reflection of the trees and sky. With one smooth river stone resting beside the shore, as sunlight gently touches its quiet surface. Perhaps after sitting beside the quiet pond, Ethan Parker continues along the forest path as the morning light becomes brighter. The reflection of the trees remains behind him on the water's surface. The smooth river stone rests beside the shore, holding the gentle warmth of the sun. Maybe you may notice how some moments become part of us without needing to be carried. Ethan walks slowly toward the final clearing of the forest. The trees begin to open around him. The path becomes wider, and the sky above feels larger with every step. The sounds of the forest remain close. The movement of leaves, the distant stream, the soft rhythm of the earth beneath his feet. Perhaps the forest has been quietly accompanying him from the beginning, not through words, not through directions, simply through presence. Ethan arrives at a peaceful clearing beneath the open sky. The grass is soft beneath the morning light. Wildflowers grow along the edges of the field. A gentle breeze moves across the open space, carrying the scent of the forest behind him. Ethan places the lantern beside him. The flame has finally faded, but the lantern remains warm from the journey it has shared. He sits quietly and looks back toward the trees. Maybe you may notice how returning does not always mean going back to where we started. Sometimes it means seeing the same place with a softer heart. Ethan remembers the old wooden gate where he first entered the forest. The fallen leaf beneath the evening sky. The ancient tree with roots hidden beneath the earth. The flowing stream that moved around every stone. The lantern that offered a small light in the darkness. The hidden garden with its unopened flower bud. The weathered bench beneath the oak tree. The empty notebook waiting in silence. The wooden bridge between two paths. The meadow holding the morning dew. The simple cabin with the green leaf on the windowsill. The quiet pond reflecting the sky. Each place remains within the forest. Each moment remains within him. Perhaps these memories do not need to become answers. Maybe they can simply remain as gentle reminders of what he noticed along the way. Ethan looks across the clearing. The morning sun touches the grass. Small insects move between the flowers. Birds travel through the open sky above. Everything continues naturally. Nothing rushes. Nothing asks to be different. You may notice how Mother Earth moves through every season with quiet patience. The trees grow. The rivers flow. The flowers open when their time arrives. The leaves return to the soil. The earth receives everything and continues. Ethan takes a slow breath. The air feels fresh and open. He places one hand over his heart for a moment. There is no need to explain what has changed. Perhaps some journeys are understood through the way we breathe afterward. Maybe through the way we observe ordinary moments. The way we appreciate sunlight through a window. The way we listen to the wind. The way we notice the quiet beauty that was always nearby. Ethan stands and begins walking back toward the forest entrance. The path feels familiar now. The trees seem unchanged, yet the morning feels new. He walks without needing to hurry. The old wooden gate waits at the edge of the forest, the same gate where the journey began. Ethan approaches slowly and places his hand on the wood once more. The surface feels familiar beneath his fingers. The marks from rain and seasons remain. The forest behind him stands quietly beneath the morning sky. Ethan steps through the gate and continues along the path beyond the trees. Behind him, the old wooden gate remains open beneath the sunlight. with a single fallen leaf resting beside it as a gentle breeze moves softly through the grass. Perhaps as Ethan Parker walks beyond the old wooden gate, the forest continues to breathe behind him. The trees remain where they have always been. The leaves continue their gentle dance with the wind. The morning light moves slowly across the earth, touching every branch, every stone, and every quiet corner of the path. Maybe you may notice how nature does not hold onto the footsteps of those who pass through. It simply welcomes each moment, then allows it to continue. Ethan walks along the familiar trail beyond the forest. The world outside begins to return around him. The distant sounds of daily life become clearer. Birds move above the trees. A soft breeze follows beside him. Yet something feels different in the quiet spaces within. Perhaps the journey was never only about the forest. Maybe it was also about noticing the small moments that were already present. The breath moving gently through the body. The warmth of sunlight resting on the skin. The feeling of the earth beneath each step. The simple sounds that often remain unheard when the mind is moving too quickly. Ethan pauses for a moment near the edge of the path. He looks back toward the forest one last time. The old wooden gate stands quietly between the trees. It does not close behind him. It does not ask him to return. It simply remains, holding the memory of the evening when he first entered. You may notice how some places become meaningful, not because they change us completely, but because they remind us of something gentle within ourselves. The forest, the stream, the lantern, the garden, the bridge, and the quiet pond all remain exactly where they are. Perhaps their wisdom was never hidden in words. Maybe it was found in the moments when Ethan slowed down enough to listen. The world continues moving. Seasons continue changing. Leaves continue falling and returning to the earth. Flowers continue opening when their time arrives. Rivers continue flowing around stones that have rested there for many years. Mother Earth continues her quiet rhythm beneath every moment. Ethan continues walking beneath the open sky. He carries no special object from the forest. The lantern remains behind. The notebook remains empty. The smooth stone rests beside the pond. The green leaf remains on the cabin windowsill. Everything stays where it belongs. Perhaps some journeys are not measured by what we bring home. Maybe they are felt through the way we begin to see what was already around us. Ethan walks toward the sounds of ordinary life. The path beneath his feet feels simple. The morning air feels fresh. The world feels both familiar and new. There is still uncertainty ahead. There are still days that may feel busy. There are still moments when the mind may become restless again. But perhaps a quiet place can remain within us, waiting patiently. A place where we can breathe. A place where we can return. A place where gratitude can quietly grow. You may notice a gentle feeling when remembering the forest, not as a distant place, but as a moment of connection, a return to yourself, a return to the earth beneath your feet, a return to the simple appreciation of being here, a return to the quiet peace that moves like the wind through the trees. And somewhere behind the path, beyond the old wooden gate, the forest continues resting beneath the morning sun, with a single fallen leaf beside the entrance, holding a small drop of water that reflects the endless sky above.